Hey guys, so today I wanted to make a video where I go into the importance of Maisie being a clone in the plot of Fallen Kingdom. Watching a few reviews of Fallen Kingdom back when it first came out, there was this particular sort of point that kept coming up, and I was sitting there thinking, well, hang on a second, I don't think that's exactly true. And I kind of forgot about this for a long while until I was recently listening to another discussion between some fans, which I've clipped and put into this video montage that I'll play in a minute, and it brought back this this sense of like, oh yeah, I should tackle that subject, because I hear this sort of point brought up all too often, especially in sort of YouTube reviews who tend to make videos about films when they come out, so they don't let films settle too much. But I wanted to cover this and see if I could actually lay to rest this particular point, which I'll bring up in a minute. But I'm going to play a video montage first, just to illustrate the point of what the kind of things are said about Maisie being a clone in the plot of Fallen Kingdom, how people reacted to it. Not everyone, obviously, but this is the misconception we're tackling. So here we go.
You want to tell the story? We'll say spoilers. I mean,
well, they try and, yeah, we're spoilers. It doesn't matter. This is after they ran out of story too. They're like, what's something we could do as a twist? She is a clone. James Cromwell cloned his daughter, and that's his daughter.
So we have introduced that human cloning is now a reality.
Yes. And then it's never mentioned again.
So then we have this utterly fucking bizarre scene where our heroes bump into the bad guy and he just explains to our heroes and the audience that the little girl is a fucking clone. She is a clone. Apparently Discount Hammond made a clone of his daughter because she died in a car crash, and the little girl is that clone. Actual Hammond broke off their partnership because of that. And I find myself asking,
oh my god, who the hell cares?
We barely fucking knew this girl. We don't know Discount Hammond at all. This reveal is fucking pointless unless it's going to be the reason for something later. Oh god.
Oh, and speaking of bad ideas, let's talk about that clone reveal. This one is pretty strange. So Maisie, the granddaughter of Benjamin Lockwood, the previously unmentioned partner of John Hammond in the creation of Jurassic Park, turns out to be the clone of his daughter who died in a car accident. This reveal is pretty easy to guess, and it's hinted at throughout the movie, and it adds up to, like, almost nothing. It's such a bizarre subplot. For one thing, it doesn't really change anything.
Then the third act, they drop this bombshell about this person that I don't know or care about, that he cloned his daughter, I guess, and when he was going to start a clone, that's what drove them together. So, okay, you resolved this feud that I didn't care about and didn't know existed until an hour and a half ago when you told me it did. Again, that comes into play not one bit in the rest of the movie. They go, oh my god, she's a clone. Look, there's a raptor, run! And the whole third act proceeds.
Another promise and payoff was the fact that there's something mysterious about Maisie, but then the payoff was just a quick little moment of, oh, by the way, she's a clone. And then it's like, it's not as poignant of a moment because it's only given as a throwaway line in a piece of dialogue right before another action scene.
So as you heard there was a kind of running theme throughout a lot of people's arguments that the Maisie subplot, or main plot I would argue, of her being a clone is pointless and doesn't go anywhere. It comes up at the end and it has no real bearing on the overall plot of the movie. This is the misconception I'm going to be tackling today. I did want to note though that Samuel at the end, the last clip that came up, he's a very nice guy. He was the one, that clip is from a video that was released not too long ago, and he said that, and I thought, well, hang on a second, that's not exactly right. And it reminded me of all the other times I hear people make that kind of argument. And we had this lovely conversation back and forth. And incidentally, I'm going to be on his channel. Well, we're going to be recording hopefully something tonight, and we'll have a discussion. I don't know about this, but we'll discuss something about Jurassic Park. But anyway, the point that they bring up, that it's pointless to the plot, it doesn't go anywhere, that's the misconception, as I've said, that I want to tackle. So, as the thumbnail of this video suggests, we're going to be going a bit crazy, and so I have made this timeline of events in Fallen Kingdom, which should hopefully well, make my point. It's kind of like the Charlie Day meme. It's like, that's why it's on the thumbnail of him going crazy, because I'm going to be trying to link stuff up and try and explain my points further. So I watched Fallen Kingdom and I made notes, which I have here. So it is kind of crazy note taking on everything, I think, where the point of Maisie being a clone affects the plot, and I've kind of laid it out as neatly as I can here. So let's go all the way to the beginning and try and track this through. So we'll go to here. So I might just zoom out a little bit. So at 8 minutes 51 seconds, Malcolm is being talked to by the US committee, debating on what to do about the dinosaurs, whether they should save them. And he says the lines, now we've got genetic power. I've got it written here. I forgot to write it on here, actually. He says, and now we've got genetic power, so how long is that going to spread around the globe, and what's going to be done with it? And then he says, it ain't going to stop with the de-extinction of the dinosaurs. The committee chairman says, I'm not too sure what you're talking about. And he says, I'm talking about man-made cataclysmic change. The committee member says, what kind of change? And then he says, changes like death. You don't know what it looks like till you're standing at the gates. Now, that is our first hint at the Maisie clone plot and how that's going to affect the story, because he explicitly says here, I'm going to pull out my the old red pen here. He actually, let me, a little bit underprepared here, so let me merge layers. So he explicitly says here that it ain't gonna stop with the de-extinction of the dinosaurs, which is our first hint at human cloning. There we go. Nope. Oh my god, I can't get this line right. And he talks about man-made cataclysmic change, which is gonna, well, he's predicting is gonna come about. And he says changes like death. You don't know what it looks like. It's standing at the gate. So that's kind of interesting, because changes like death is, you know, kind of you could argue, and I'm arguing, I guess, links to Maisie being a clone. She is a clone of a dead person. So changes like death, you don't know what it looks like to you standing at the gates. That's a great line from the original Jurassic Park novel. And standing at the gates, this kind of also links to the end where Maisie, you know, pushes the button and releases the dinosaurs out into the wild, and there are this set of gates holding them from being released. And obviously this whole topic is about change. So this whole first introduction, this sentence here is the first hints that we have of the plot that's going to follow. And then at 14 minutes 15 seconds, Claire says to Mills, who's giving an introduction to what the mission's going to be, because when the US committee talks to Malcolm, they decide they're not going to save the dinosaurs. Not just Malcolm, they've been talking to other people, but we only see Malcolm. They decide they're not going to save the dinosaurs. Masrani Global Corporation, as it says on one of the news tickers in the film, says that they've abandoned the dinosaurs. No one's going to save them. And as soon as that happens, Claire gets a call from Lockwood, from Mills and Lockwood, who are basically saying, we need you for something. And this is where Claire learns you're going to save them, she says. And then Lockwood comes out of the side of the frame and says, no, Miss Deering, I'm going to save us. We could both use a touch of redemption, couldn't we? Now, he is saying that because, you know, he's saying, Miss Deering, you know, we both could use redemption. I've just realised that I've got a P in couldn't, because I wrote that pretty quickly, so I'm going to just ignore that. Let me make that U really big. Woo! There we go. Couldn't we? He's obviously talking to Claire about how, you know, she needs redemption. She's been seeking redemption because of her relationship to the events of Jurassic World. But he says we could both use a touch of redemption. He is trying to save the dinosaurs because he feels guilty for the loss of his daughter. He feels, he feels like he wants to rectify past mistakes, and saving the dinosaurs is the way he's seeking to do that. So the entire plot, the entire movie hinges on Lockwood's feelings and his emotions about his relationship to his dead daughter and Maisie. Obviously, this is not revealed until later on in the movie, but this is our first, another piece of foreshadowing. We've had Malcolm's sort of vague foreshadowing. This is like direct because it's dealing with the characters. And obviously, Lockwood calls Claire because they've just seen on the news that the governments aren't going to do anything. So that's when they're like, okay, we've got her in here. But they need Claire to get Owen. Well, they need Claire to get the tracking devices on the dinosaurs to get Owen to track Blue. And that's all Mills' underlining scheme, because obviously he wants Blue for the Endoraptor project. But Lockwood, Mills has obviously been lying to Lockwood, trying to get Claire on board because they need to track the dinosaurs and they need the last remaining Velociraptor or whatever. So anyway, 15 minutes 23 seconds. Just shortly after this, Lockwood turns to Claire and says, "Life teaches us some very hard lessons, doesn't it, Claire?" And while he's saying this, Maisie is watching from above. She sneaks up because she's good at hiding. She sneaks up and she's like watching them over. I say she's good at hiding. Claire does spot her, but the point is she's hiding in the shadows and she's kind of looking down from above. I would say it's kind of like symbolic in terms of like the ghost of the dead daughter is watching over them, even though it's like Maisie the clone. It can kind of be argued that symbolically that's what it's representing, if you want to get really pretentious about it. But yeah, so as they're saying that, Lockwood also says, "We will save them. What a gift for our children." This is a direct, instant linkage to the events of which we're going to discover later on about his daughter being dead and Maisie being cloned and all that sort of stuff. Mill tells Claire that Maisie is Lockwood's granddaughter, which is a lie, we come to find out. So this is Mills lying directly to Claire's face about who Maisie is, which is also tying into the whole clone plot here. At 20 minutes, we see Owen watching footage of his research with the baby raptors. This is going to be important later. I'm going to circle this because I want to come back to this later. That will come into play in a bit. Now, 22 minutes 17 is our actual introduction to Maisie. 22 minutes 17 seconds. She's pretending to be a dinosaur, which is foreshadowing her seeing herself as an equal to the dinosaurs due to how they were both brought into the world via genetic technology, and ultimately her decision to release them in the wild at the end of the film. It also shows how she's hiding in the mansion quite well from the nurse, because the nurse, what am I talking about? The nanny, because obviously she jumps out, makes her jump, so she's very good at hiding. And obviously that comes into play later when she's hiding in the lab and discovers the Endoraptor later on, which we'll link up to later. Her hiding as well, I would say that obviously she's not... We're sort of... It's all alluding to the fact that she's never left this place. So she's good at hiding. She knows all the ins and outs of the mansion because she's been there ever since she's been alive, and she knows this place inside and out. So she knows all the way around this massive mansion or castle. But we'll get onto that later. 23 minutes 39 seconds. Another letter in there. My keyboard, by the way, has just been playing up, so that's why some letters are in here. And plus, I tried to type this up as quickly as I can. For those of you who watch the channel, you know I've got a newborn baby and every second counts, so I've been trying to make this as quickly as possible from my notes. So anyway, Maisie talks to Lockwood and he says, "You have your mother's wicked sense of humor." Obviously she has her wicked sense of humor because she is her mother, and then she says, "Do I look like her?" I've got blooming O missing there. "Do I look like her?" And then he says, "You could be her mirror image." Obviously that's the most on the nose nod to the fact that she's a clone. And then she asks, "Did my mother ever visit the park?" And he says, "Once a long time ago, she would have saved them too, she would have saved them all." Obvious linkage to the end of the movie. At 36 minutes 6 seconds, Mills, everything's going crazy. Owen's been tranked. They've got assumingly killed by Wheatley, and Wheatley is driving with Blue in the truck, and he's on the phone to Mills. And as Mills is doing this, like saying, "Get the dinosaurs here," whatever, and he's really angry, Maisie comes into the room behind him, and she asks him, "Mr. Mills, are the dinosaurs safe?" So it's showing her concern over the safety of the dinosaurs, which is obviously linking to the fact that she would have saved them. Now, obviously, from Maisie's point of view at this point in the plot, she probably would be thinking, my mother would want to save them all, so she's then getting more concerned because she likes dinosaurs, clearly, because she's been pretending to be one. She knows about dinosaurs, this, that, and the other. Obviously, Lockwood's manor is filled with fossils and stuff, so she is obsessed with dinosaurs, but she wants to know if the dinosaurs are safe. And from her perspective, she admires her mother's, as Lockwood said, like, she would have saved them all, so she admires that. So she's asking, are the dinosaurs safe? And then he yells at her, "Not now!" And she's like, well, what was that all about? But that is also another linkage to the end of the film, because are the dinosaurs safe? That's what she cares about. At 55 minutes into the movie, Maisie tries to look at the photo album as Lockwood is sleeping, because she has learned that the dinosaurs are coming to the mansion. But that is interrupted by Lockwood waking up. So she sees this photo album that Lockwood has, and we got a shot of it in the scene at the at this one here, 23 minutes 39. Just as that scene starts, Lockwood is looking at an old photo album of his daughter, his dead daughter. And Maisie she's not allowed to look at that, but obviously Benjamin Lockwood is dying, he's on his deathbed, so he's constantly looking at this thing, he's reminiscing, he wants redemption, all this sort of stuff. He's in his final years, or maybe even year, we're not quite told that, but it's everything's pointing towards he's on his last legs, and he's trying to seek a way of redemption, and he's clutching onto this photo album. But she tries to look at the photo album, but Lockwood wakes up just before that, so she can't quite see what's on the inside. And that's obviously, we know what's concealed in that later on. At 1 hour, 1 minute and 46 seconds, around there, Maisie sneaks into the secret lab and watches tapes of Owen researching the baby raptors. So this this links to this right here. Where we're introduced at 20 minutes to Owen watching the footage of his baby raptors. So we see him watching that in his trailers. So that, oh my word. So that is that is setting up, the fact that they recorded the research on the baby raptors, and then it sets up where later on where we find out that Mills and Wu have that footage and they've been watching it themselves, and Maisie discovers it there. Obviously, she sneaks into the secret lab. We see her sneaking around watching Eversole and Mills, so she can see how they type in, and obviously that links to this, the intro to Maisie, where I told you it was going to be like the Charlie Day meme. Links into the setup of her being good at hiding, which is also linked to the fact that she's been trapped in this place. Why? She's a clone. Okay, Maisie, as she watches the video, Owen says she's hyper intelligent, curious, and shows sign of empathy. That's the key word there. And curious, she hides. She's hyper intelligent, she knows about dinosaurs, all that sort of stuff. And as he's saying this, we're watching footage of Blue, like Owen's tilting his head and Blue is imitating it. As they're doing that, Maisie is also tilting her head. And as Owen is saying that, we're on the shot of Maisie tilting her head. So this is where the film is equating Maisie to the dinosaurs even more. Which again links to the intro, because she's pretending to be a dinosaur. So there's many moments like that where they're trying to subtly hint the fact that she's a genetic clone like dinosaurs. And the empathy line, obviously, as I've written here, links to the ending of the movie, and as Lockwood said about Maisie would have saved them all. So again, this links to this. So she would have saved them all. Her empathy for the dinosaurs, feeling like them, is all tied into her being a clone. At 1 hour, 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Oh my god, my bloomin' keyboard. I need a new one. To get the next iteration... Next is all the wrong way around. Anyway, ignore that. To get the next iteration under control, this is Wu saying this, it needs to form a familial bond with a closely related genetic link. And Mills says, English Henry, and then he yells, it needs a mother! And as he says that, we're shown a shot of Maisie peeping over the stairs, and Maisie has not had a mother, so there's kind of link there, I believe, between the fact that he's saying it needs a mother, and we're seeing a shot of Maisie as he yells that. And this is also the scene where Maisie discovers the Endoraptor, which obviously ties into the fact that she's good at hiding because she's been sneaking around the lab. So that goes back to the fact that we were set up to her her hiding. This is hilarious. I love this. I knew this was going to be fun. At 1 hour 9 minutes, Mills is knelt before Lockwood because Lockwood has discovered the dinosaurs are coming to the mansion after Maisie told him, and it's kind of symbolic of the fact that Lockwood is kind of like a god type character. He's like the old white beard. He's sitting in bed, and Mills is kneeling down. He's like the knight kneeling before the king. Obviously, the film's called Fallen Kingdom, so. It's not just the kingdom of dinosaurs falling, it's the kingdom, with the island blowing up with the volcano. It's the kingdom of Lockwood's kingdom falling. It's the kingdom of mankind potentially falling with the dinosaurs and genetic power spreading across the world. All that sort of stuff. But Mills is kneeling before Lockwood, for forgiveness. And he says, "You entrusted me to guide your fortune into the future." I've missed an E there. My God, this keyboard. "You entrusted me to guide your fortune into the future. I have done that." And then Lockwood yells, "Damn you!" So he's damning. It goes back to the whole like visuals of like the god, and Mills could also represent like Lucifer, and he's damning him. He's like, "Damn you!" And then he gets him to call the police because he says, they'll believe it if it comes straight from you. If a doddery old man is basically saying, "Oh, there's dinosaurs in my mansion," they're not going to come. If a man says, "I've brought dinosaurs," they're probably going to believe him more anyway. And then as Mills goes to pick up the phone, he actually picks up the pillow and he goes to kill Lockwood. He goes to murder him. And he says, "I've been thinking John Hammond was right. It was an unholy thing." Again, the word unholy tying into the whole relationship of the metaphorical relationship between Lockwood being the god, the king, and seeking redemption because he did an unholy thing. So he says, "It was an unholy thing that you did. I'm not the only guilty one here, am I, sir?" So Mills recognizes he's doing something wrong, but he doesn't care. He has a goal. He's going to go to get it. But this is a mention of Lockwood doing an unholy thing, which obviously ties directly into the whole Maisie plot. That's the whole point. And obviously that links to well, I'm not even going to draw it, but that links straight, like if I put a little star here, that links to right here. We could all do with a touch of redemption, couldn't we? Like, so the whole point of the plot hinges on the fact that he was seeking redemption because he believes what he did was something wrong. It's why he doesn't want to tell Maisie. It's why he's hiding her from the world. All that sort of stuff. At 1 hour, 12 minutes, 14 seconds, Mills talks to Claire and Owen, even though my keyboard forgot the E. Owen in a cage. And he said to them, "I've saved these animals. And you two are the parents of the new world." Obviously, that's a direct link to kind of Adam and Eve and the book of Genesis, which links to the unholy thing line, all that sort of stuff. But he also says here, and I just thought I'd note this, I don't know if it has a direct link to Maisie being a clone, but him saying "I saved these animals" means Mills, and he says "I've guided your fortune into the future. I've done that." So these two lines here show that Mills believes, even though he knows he's doing some very immoral things, he is still achieving the things that he has been set to do. So like someone says, "Guide my fortune into the future," he's like, "Okay, I know how to do that, and I want to do it this way, even if people don't like it. I've saved these animals." Yeah, he's selling them on the black market, but they are alive. He's technically not wrong. So he saved them from extinction, but he's doing it in such a way that most people are like, "Well, this is wrong." Especially Malcolm, who believes the island should have killed the dinosaurs. I thought I'd make a note of that because I find it kind of interesting. At 1 hour, 13 minutes, 57 seconds, Maisie's room is revealed, and she is kept on the highest room of the mansion, and I've written /castle, because she is like a princess being captive in this castle. and she has a dragon on her tail, which is where the Raptor is chasing her up to the top room. I believe we've actually seen her room when she gets locked in it earlier. Oh, no, sorry, this is that scene. This is the scene where Mills locks her in the room. And, oh, no, sorry, bear in mind, this is the scene where, after Lockwood's died, the people who are coming to the black market are arriving at the house, and we see Maisie coming out of her window and climbing around the house. That's it. But the point is that it metaphorically ties into Lockwood trying to keep her secret from the world. So his whole doesn't want to reveal to the world that she's a clone. Symbolically, if you're a film director and that, you do the archetypal thing of placing the damsel in distress at the highest point in the castle. It's a classic trope. But this also shows her sneaking out the window, and she knows her way around the castle even on the outside, so she has been there for a very long time. So this kind of all ties into the fact that she's being kept from the world. But she's also kind of like this being... She's on top of the pyramid. She's like the highest thing that Lockwood values. At 1 hour 15 minutes 30 seconds, Maisie discovers Lockwood is dead. She discovers that Benjamin Lockwood is dead. Her grandfather, even though that's her actual dad. And she takes the photo album that she's been trying to look in as Mills enters the room and calls for Iris, the nanny, because he wants to basically say, look, Lockwood's dead. Just ignore all the other spelling mistakes if my keyboard's been making a mistake here. But anyway, she discovers her mother looks exactly like her, and it might be quite hard here, but this is the first reveal that she's a clone, because in the background we hear Iris say, because Mills wants to take Maisie under his custody, and we hear the nanny Iris says, but I raised her, I raised both of them. And as she says that, we're looking at a picture of Maisie and a very, very young Iris, who's now a really old lady, and Maisie just looks the same. So she's looking and she's like, the mother looks exactly like her, and it's kind of the first moment where Maisie is starting to realise, oh, hang on a second, what the hell's going on? And it's kind of ambiguous whether Maisie realises at this point she is a clone. I don't think she does, but it's very close. At 1 hour 21 minutes and 43 seconds is where Claire and Owen meet Maisie, and I've jotted that down on here because it ties into this right here, where at 1 hour 25 minutes and 8 seconds Maisie explains who made the Raptor to Owen and Claire. She explains it's Wu, and she also explains the Raptor to them. And that links to here because she's sneaky, and also I'm not going to link it, but it links all the way to the fact that she's good at hiding. So, you know, because she was good at hiding, she went to the lab, and then when she was in the lab she discovered the Raptor, and then because she discovered the Raptor she could tell Owen and Claire about it, and she meets Owen and Claire because she hides from Mills in the dumbwaiter, and yeah, it's all tied together. You see the kind of cause and effect. At 1 hour 33 minutes and 30 seconds, this is where Mills reveals Maisie is a clone to Owen and Claire, and ultimately Maisie. So this is the big moment in the movie, and as a lot of people have said, it comes quite late into the movie. Still 30 minutes to go till the end of the film, till the end of the film basically. But this is the moment where it is revealed that Maisie is a clone, and all bets are off. Now, that's also when Mills says that Lockwood never had a granddaughter, so you know that shows that he was lying right at the beginning to Claire. At 1 hour 36 minutes 26 seconds, the explosion happens, which releases the toxic gas, which will play into this part here, which we'll get to in a minute. 1 hour 41 minutes and 25 seconds, Maisies Reflection. They're being chased by the Raptor around the mansion, and they're hiding in amongst all these statues of dinosaurs, and they're behind glass, and when these lights come on, Maisie's reflection in the glass, the Raptor is on the other side, and their faces merge. So Maisie's face merges with the Raptor's, and it's kind of, as I've written here, a visual symbol of her connection to genetic technology, obviously, and her being a clone. At 1 hour, 52 minutes and 40 seconds, Maisie releases the dinosaurs into the wild of California, and she says, I had to, they're alive like me. Now, a lot of people had a problem with this line because they said, like, oh, of course they're alive, we're alive, all this sort of stuff. But that's total misinterpretation of that line. She's saying, I had to because they're alive like me. She's talking about these guys have been created by genetic technology. I've been created by genetic technology. The whole film has been basically building up to the fact that she has an affinity for these dinosaurs. She's empathy for them. She equates herself to them via the fact that she's been cloned, which is, you know, she discovers that, and then it's almost like all the jigsaw puzzle pieces fall into place. And that this line, you know, they're alive like me, that ties all the way back to the fact when we first see Maisie and she is pretending to be a dinosaur, essentially. So there we go. And then at 1 hour, 52 seconds and 1 hour, 52 minutes and 40 seconds, shot of Maisie's face with foreboding music over it as Malcolm goes into his welcome to Jurassic World speech, which obviously ties all the way back to the beginning. So all the way back here, where Malcolm is talking about changes like death. You don't know what it looks like until you're standing at the gates. Man-made cataclysmic change, which is the releasing of the dinosaurs, and it ain't going to stop with the de-extinction of the dinosaurs. Cloning of humans. He doesn't obviously know exactly what it could be, but Malcolm is Malcolm. He's making these predictions that no one else is making, and that ties into that. Okay, so the point is that this argument I hear a lot of people making of, you know, when they reveal Maisie as a clone towards the end of the film, it doesn't go anywhere. It's like, no, the entire plot of Fallen Kingdom, why everything happens is because Lockwood is seeking redemption for what he did with his dead daughter. He cloned her. He doesn't feel good about that. That's the whole point. And it's the kingdom is falling over this plot. It's not necessarily a good story. I did speak to Samuel, who I mentioned at the start of this video, that to me, I equate this to the Empire Strikes Back, the Luke is my father line, because that comes towards the end of the film. But if you go back and watch it, you'll start to see all the things that are getting placed to foreshadow what's coming later on, and it happens right towards the end of the film, and then you have to wait for the next film to see what's going to happen. Same thing happening here. They reveal Maisie as a clone right at the end of this, or towards the end of this film, and that links to her decision to release the dinosaurs. And obviously, Jurassic World Dominion is probably going to most likely follow up on that. I can't speak too much about that, unfortunately, but the point I'm making here, the broader point, is that Fallen Kingdom's plot entirely hinges on the fact that Maisie is a clone. And I've heard some people argue in the past that, well, if you take the clone subplot out, and I believe someone might have made that point in the video montage that I played earlier, if you take Maisie being a clone out of it, it changes nothing in the movie. It's like, yes, it changes everything in the movie. Everything in the movie changes, because you have to have the motive for Lockwood, and then you'd have to change that, and then that changes Maisie's character, and that changes Maisie's relationship to all other characters that she talks to. It changes the relationship between Mills and Lockwood, because you'd have to change the motive for Mills to kill Lockwood and overthrow the kingdom. All that kind of stuff comes into play. So it's so woven into the plot of Fallen Kingdom. This misconception that the Maisie clone plot is nothing, I think it's gone on too long. And I think this video, as crazy and as insane as it looks, and how I've been waffling on for God knows how long, I haven't even looked at it. Hopefully that will this will put this to rest. And if you hear anyone say that, just send them this video, and they can come into my comments and go, "You're nuts. Get a life." Just an additional note, though, in Jurassic World, Gray is looking at a picture of Mr. DNA, and he says, I'm going to pronounce these horribly. Cytosine, guanine, adenine, and thymine, the same four things in everything that ever lived. And I've got them in the colours, and I believe they're the right colours. I did do some research, and it seemed like some people were mixing the colours up. But the point is, those four things are in the same things that ever lived. It's part of the DNA makeup. You can see on Maisie's shirt, she's got the yellow, blue, red, and green on her shirt. And obviously that is a visual tie-in also to the fact that she has a connection to genetic technology. Obviously it's also DNA. It's kind of a rough linkage, but I just thought I'd make an additional little side note of that right there. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Bit of a crazy one, but hopefully you've been entertained and this misconception has been squashed, because Fallen Kingdom's plot is entirely hinged, as I said, on Maisie being a clone. So there we go. Hope you've enjoyed this video, guys, and I will catch you very soon in another Jurassic Misconception. Bye bye.